Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Social Liability Podcast, where this title is Fowl Play Down Under. I am your host, the Raz and my co-host, the Buck Grundle, and this is the only podcast you can listen to where two middle-aged men sit around and complain about all those people in our lives that violate the social contract we all agree to live by. And I did that a little out of order because I was just a little bit flummoxed. So how you been over the past week there, Bucky?
I've been fan-freaking-tastic.
Fan-freaking-tastic. Outstanding.
Oh, yeah, man. My neighbors are in full-force polystyrene mode.
So for those of you that are unaware, polystyrene is indeed white trash. So what are they doing to you this week?
You know what, man? They moved their kids and their grandkids and their two giant dogs in there with them because they lost their house or their home for some reason. I don't want to speculate on how. That's really unfair. But it did happen. They were homeless. And they moved in right below me and Catherine.
How many bedrooms is it?
3 bedrooms.
And there's like 3 families living there.
Man, I'll tell you what, dude, all they do all day long is just scream. That's it. All they're doing is yelling. The dogs are fucking barking. And I'm just like, I'm at the end of my rope.
So you know I've had an ongoing feud with the neighbor dog, right? This big fucking brown poodle, who every time I was stepping out on my back porch, it just and I even got like this little sonic deal where I could point it out there and fuck with his ears, and it bothers the old like golden or whatever the hell that's in their yard. Him, not didn't give a shit, and. Now it just takes to all of a sudden randomly for no damn reason just coming up to the fence and barking like, hey, come outside so I can yell at you some more. I mean, I'm not even going outside. This damn thing's barking at me. I'm at my wit's end with this dog. I really am.
Man, poodles are supposed to be fancy and shit, man. What an uncultured little swine you got living next to you, dude.
Yeah, it's like baby poop brown too. So, meh. And my wife actually has said I am actually having a feud with the neighbor dog. I'm not going to do anything to hurt the damn thing, but god dang if I don't want to.
I wish everybody out there knew you as well as I do, because you're not figuratively saying feud with a dog. Like, you literally, like, you are the guy who will have a blood oath with a dog. Like, like, I will smite, you will be smote. Like, that dog is, and when you say it, man, you salt the earth right along with it. You're like, bam.
I have a plan. I just can't talk about it publicly. The dog will not be harmed. I will not hurt the dog. I'm saying that very loudly and publicly. I will not hurt the dog.
Yet, folks, I want you to... right before my little rant about how sinister and diabolical Raz can be, right? What does he say right after in response to it? I've got a plan.
I don't hurt animals, and I'll tell you this: I've had a mouse, actually 2 mice, in the house for a couple of weeks now. We got the one pretty quick, and then there was another one, the little one, and I actually have had a monicum respect for this mouse because it was eating the peanut butter off of all the traps. And I'm talking not just once or twice, like 7 or 8 times. It ate all the bait off the trap and never set it off. So I this morning I got these things from Amazon. These like claw, these big black monstrosities. And I'm back here. I was actually streaming earlier on my Twitch channel, and I got a message from the wife saying, I hear chewing. It's out here eating. And I went into the kitchen, and sure as hell, it was in the trap eating the peanut butter. And it ran away. And I reset the trap, put more peanut butter in there, and finally I got him. And I told the wife too, it's like, if he doesn't get it this time, I'm going to catch him live because I'm keeping that sucker. But no, I finally got him. He snapped. He's dead. I genuinely feel bad for this mouse. I mean, I don't want him in my house. It had to be done. But this thing was so dirty and tenacious. I had like a kinship with this mouse. I've had mice in my house that I've tried to stomp on throughout the years because I don't deal with vermin in my home. But this mouse, man, I was like, you know what? He's got some chutzpah.
I can see you going to the garbage can with his little carcass, just saying, "Well played, sir."
Actually, it was very close to that. Yes.
like a little taps going down in your mind head. You're just like, burr, burr, burr. It's like garbage can lid shuts, and
I told him, well, you had a good run.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got to give the guy credit, man. You got to give the guy credit.
Okay, so, but pests and rodents aside, dealing with us, we do have a show to do here, Buck, and as is customary at the Social Liability Podcast, we're going to bring you some stories of people, and in this case, animals, breaking the social contracts that we've all agreed to live by. And typically we have a recurring theme, and this week's theme, Fowl Play Down Under, has to do with birds in Australia. We actually found 3 stories having to do with birds in Australia. So there will be no Florida Man theme song this episode, I'm sorry to say, but I think that you'll fit some enjoyment out of these. So first, being reported by the Associated Press, authorities use a pair to entice and capture escaped emu. And this isn't the only story about an emu. I'm just going to say that right now. I didn't know emus were apparently this prevalent. Now, this did happen in Boston. It didn't happen in Australia, but, emus and such. So, an emu was spotted roaming the streets of a city near Boston and was corralled by authorities in Massachusetts. The emu was reported Wednesday morning in Harville Hill, about 35 miles north of Boston, and was captured about 2 hours later. The Eagle Tribune reports the emu named Kermit escaped from the property of a local resident who cares for unwanted animals. The resident has been prepared to transport Kermit to a farm in Maine when it fled. I mean, did this guy not call and give a heads up hey, one of my emus got loose? This freaking dinosaur looking bird just got out and is roaming the neighborhood? Or is it just when you walk out on your porch in your morning, drink your coffee, and this thing just walks you by on the sidewalk? Authorities.
I just can't get past the name Kermit.
Kermit, like the frog. I don't get it. Authorities say the bird was captured safely after it was given a pear from a nearby tree. Native to Australia, emus are the largest living bird after the ostrich and can reach nearly 100 pounds and a height of almost 6 feet. They run fast and can become aggressive, and that's how you end the story. Okay, but I mean, what do you do if you're kind of just sitting there at home and all of a sudden this 6-foot raptor-looking mother just comes walking down past you? Do you evaluate your sanity, or do you actually make the call to the police and say there's an emu walking down the street?
I really don't know what I would do. There are so many variables in my potential escape plan from that situation, varying from a series of ramps and pulleys, an attractive assortment of grabbers, maybe all the way to just screaming like a little girl. It can go any which way with me.
Well, let's examine this from 2 ways. What do you do if you just happen to be outside and see this? And what do you do if you've already been medicated, like Buck is, and you go outside and see this? Come on, come on, rapid fire. Come on.
You know what? In either instance, I would call my wife. I'd be like, hey, you got to get over here.
So is this like when my wife called me to come deal with the mouse? You got to call your wife to come deal with the emu?
That's the best part about my situation, my friend. It really is. I can do it shamelessly. I can do it with a smile on my face. I can even micromanage how she kills it or shoos it off or whatever. I'm going to be a great old guy because of that shit.
Because you already sit on the porch and yell at clouds?
You're darn right I do.
Oh, I mean, the things the Associated Press runs, I mean, seriously. Well, speaking of the Associated Press, here's another story from the AP that was picked up by CNN, of all places. Two brazen emu siblings named Kevin and Carol have been banned from a hotel in Australia's outback for bad behavior. I've had cats and dogs with weird names, but what is with people naming emus? Kermit, Kevin, and Carol.
It's like when Gru names his minions like Stuart, Kevin, and Carl.
Located in a small isolated township with the same name in central western Queensland, the Yarraka Hotel has just 4 rooms, as well as campgrounds and a pub. It doesn't sound like much of a freaking hotel. Co-owner Chris Giblett tells CNN Travel that emus were once welcome visitors and would pop by every now and then for a few biscuits.
Yes, sir.
They even learned to climb stairs. Travelers have been very cautious with the emus because they will poke their hands at a caravan door. They will poke their heads in a caravan door and drink all the coffee without spilling the mug and steal your toast if you have a barbecue. Watch out for them because they'll take everything, he says.
See, I'm telling you, man. You know, everybody says that, oh, our avian ally, the emu, such a noble and majestic bird. I'm telling you.
I don't think anybody says that.
It doesn't matter if they do or they don't. Comedically, it works for my frickin' rant here. So anyhow, everybody says this about emus and birds in general, but I'm telling you, they're all sneaky. All birds are sneaky, man. You might see like a Facebook video of some kid like hugging a chicken or some shit like that, but I mean, like, generally speaking, they shit on your car. They chase your kids. I
mean, emus kind of remind me of like geese.
That's what I'm saying.
Just assholes.
That goose. That's a mean motherfucker right there.
In the town I work for, we have a pond at our local cemetery, and everybody and their mother comes to this damn pond to feed the ducks and the geese. But the ducks have the common sense to get the hell out of the way when the car comes. The goose will just stand there and puff itself like it's going to fight the fucking truck.
I'm telling you, these guys, like back in medieval times that had moats and shit, they missed the boat. They want like, oh, I want alligators and whatever. It's like, no. You get yourself a good gaggle of geese.
Gaggle.
Yeah. I mean, like, it doesn't matter. They could have the Crusade show up at their doorstep. Those geese are gonna go out chest ablaze. They
get the siege tower, start rolling up to the castle. Yeah. The king comes out on the parapet. Release the Quacken! And all the geese come out.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you. And damn, dude, if they get you, and they don't stop either. They're like T-1000. Like, they're gonna... like, until you cut their heads off, like, that goose is gonna get you.
Every time I see a video of someone getting chased by a goose, I'm like, grab it by its neck and yeet that thing. And I saw one video where a woman does that. There's like a goose attacking her dog, and it's one of those big, long-necked sons of bitches. And she just grabs it by its neck and yanks it up and wings it into a pond.
I'm telling you, man, like, I imagine myself grabbing a goose by the neck and shit like that, but in the heat of the moment, I don't know. I think it would get me. I think it would snap at me a few times. Get me. Like, I'd have to do like an anger grab because I don't want to touch that shit.
Well, people say I'm not afraid of animals. Human being can take an animal, and yes, you can take a goose. And there's a lot.
But I don't wanna.
I'll fight a goose.
I don't wanna.
I don't want to fight a dog, but my philosophy has always been: if you're gonna have a dog, make sure it's small enough that you can take it in a fight. Which I'm not even sure if you could take your chihuahuas at this point because they're kind of mean. But
oh no, they're not. That's my baby.
Dude, there's a house at the end of this block. They have 3 like those big fat giant chihuahuas, and they just lay in the road. They just lay in the freaking road, dude. I roll up on the car, they don't even move. They're just like, go around, bitch. I don't want to fight those dogs.
Actually, they might be like, just end it now.
Just do it, dude, please.
Yeah. It's like you have no idea what fresh hell tomorrow brings for me. Just end it right now. It'll just be like a speed bump.
Uh, when
Poor
they
dogs.
when they finish breakfast at their caravan park, they come down to the hotel, and last weekend they figured out how to walk up the steps to the hotel. As a result, they've had to put a chain rope at the top of the steps, along with a sign that reads, "Emus have been banned from this establishment for bad behavior. Please let yourself through the emu barrier and reconnect." I was gonna say, hopefully it's not. They don't expect the emus to read the sign. Why the ban? Gilbert says, "You don't want to get between an emu and food."
Oh.
They've got very
They're just now figuring that out.
apparently
Okay.
they've got very sharp beaks, and they're a bit like a vacuum cleaner when food is concerned. So they're worried about them getting into the dining room and causing havoc. And then there's the aftermath. Because they eat so much food, their toiletry habits are very frequent. Imagine a sloppy bowl of porridge that you turn over from the height of a meter. The splatter is very effective. This is a CNN article.
I think I just threw up in the back of my mouth, man.
Ugh.
Like if I were imagine eating like Mexican food and that shit happens. Like, nope. Those refried beans. Nope.
Standing up to 1.9 meters tall, the emus in Australia's the emu is Australia's tallest native bird and one of the world's largest bird species, according to conservation group BirdLife Australia. Emus are related to ostriches, another native Australian bird, the cassowary. They're not terribly user-friendly. They don't enjoy being patted, but they're okay with their necks being stroked for a little while. They're not user-friendly.
Yeah. You know what though? That there's no better way of putting it. If you're gonna be putting a warning label on something, you better put it there so that everyone understands it.
This isn't the first time the siblings have caused mischief. Last year, before they learned to climb the front steps, someone left a gate open, giving them hotel access through the back. One came in and went behind the bar, and the other came and stood in front of it.
All right, you sons of bitches, who let Kevin and Carol in here?
As for the origin of the emus, he says it all started about 2 years ago when 8 eggs, seemingly abandoned, were found in the town and given to a wildlife lover. She wrapped them in blankets, and sometimes later we heard squeaks coming from inside the eggs, and she tapped on them with a spoon, and they hatched. Says Giblet, who moved to that place in the 1990s with his wife, Jerry? Yeah. After selling their business in Brisbane. Some of the emus went walkabout, and we've been left with the two that are permanent residents here in the town. Kevin and Carl are their names, but Carol ended up being a male, so we're going to call him Carl instead.
You know what? If any Kevin needs a dickhead for a brother, it might as well be a Carl.
I mean, I know Australia. I don't want to visit Australia. You know, growing up, everyone's like, I want to go to Australia. I don't want to go to Australia because everything wants to kill you in Australia. And I know that's a funny meme, but it's reality. Everything in Australia wants to kill you.
I'll bet you spiders can fly in Australia. No fucking thanks.
Oh, spiders can fly, sharks can walk.
It wouldn't surprise me, man. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that whole the thing from Crocodile Dundee when they're hunting the kangaroos, and it's like, that one's got a gun. I wouldn't be surprised if the kangaroos are hunting the populace at this point. It is 2020 after all.
Yeah. Who knows, man? Or maybe somebody is going to identify as a kangaroo and just start his own little whatever. Then we have kangaroo.
Fun stuff.
You never know, dude. You never know, man. The world is a funny place.
Well, speaking of funny places, let's talk about a zoo in Australia, shall we? Here's another Associated Press story being put out by U.S. News. Gray parrot separated at zoo after swearing a blue streak. Oh, geez. Okay, so this is actually out of London, but it is what it is. A British zoo has had to separate 5 foul-mouthed parrots who keepers say are encouraging each other to swear. Billy, Eric, Tyson, Jade, and Elsie joined the Lincolnshire Wildlife Center's colony of 200 gray parrots in August and soon revealed a penchant of blue language. We are quite used to the parrots swearing, but we've never had 5 of them at the same time, said the zoo's chief executive, Steve Nichols. Most parrots calm down, climb up outside, but for some reason, these 5 relish it. Nichols said that no visitors have complained about the parrots, but most have found the situation funny. When a parrot tells you to fuck off, it amuses people very highly. It's brought a big smile to a really hard year. When a parrot tells you to fuck off. I mean, how is there not like a fleet of Karens like just descending upon this place to protest the parrots?
Because the parrots already gave them their answer.
Nichols said the parrots have been separated to save children's ears. They were moved to different areas of the park so they don't set each other off, he said. Oh my god. So, for those of you that are not aware, the Social Liability Podcast isn't the only show that we produce as part of the Mount Moon crew. We have a podcast about Pokemon. We have Let's Plays that we call Shenanigans. We have a show about anime and stuff of that nature, and geek culture. And all of those, we try to be very family friendly. The Social Liability Show is our one explicit podcast. And that's because Buck.
Sorry.
No.
I was about ready. Sorry. It's all me.
But that being said, in our Discord calls when we were just spitballing, talking, and doing whatever, I kind of imagine us as 5 African gray parrots at this point.
I'll tell you what, we can make a pack of sailors blush. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, look at the backgrounds involved here. We have a bunch of law enforcement, a bunch of military,
car sales,
military, retail, a librarian. And if you want to hear someone cuss, hearing a librarian cuss is quite funny. But can you just taking your kids to the zoo and you walk in? Oh, look, that's an African gray parrot. The parrot just goes, "Fuck off."
Yep.
I mean, you were telling me about you had a friend that had parrots. And
there's yeah.
We kind of have to censor what the one parrot said, but why don't you tell us about those?
Well, I was about 9 years old when I met this guy. He's actually still one of my best friends today. He's probably my best friend actually. But we've known each other since we were kids. He had these 2 birds, and they were third-hand birds. And their first owner was a biker. Their second owner was a sailor. And then they got scooped up by his family. And one of them could say, "walk the plank," and then a very explicit word afterwards, And then
a derogatory term for a homosexual male.
Yep. And, gosh, and I just told you what the frickin' bird said, and I still can't remember again.
You said he catcalled any woman that walked in the room.
Oh, yeah. Well, he would catcall any girl that walked in the room. Wouldn't matter. Would not matter what it looked like, how old she was. Didn't matter. If you were a woman who walked into that room, that bird would whistle. And he was an attention. But, yeah. I mean, but there were 2 of them. But they were nice birds. I think they died when we were 19 or 20. They might have lived for 11 or 12 more years.
Yeah, usually when you have 2 of them like that, when one of them goes, the other one goes too. But it's kind of funny because we're talking about parrots doing that, but we both have kids, and kids are kind of like parrots in a way.
One of my proudest moments in life was when my oldest child, man, she was a year and a half old. Some old lady started trying to tickle under her chin, "Oh, you're such a cute little baby." And my 1-year-old, she was not 1, but she was about 18 months. She looked right at that lady and went, "Motherfucker." And I was just and I was sitting there. We were working at the prison. I was stopped at Walmart after work. I was in my uniform. everything. My 1.5-year-old little girl just looked at some old lady, just dropped it, had the face and everything. I was just like, damn.
My oldest, he's an avid Fortnite player. Fancies himself like a professional Fortnite player for some reason. I don't know, but in the latest update, you could play as some old comic book character type X-Men. So he's playing his old school, OG Mystique, with the white dress. And when you first start playing in Fortnite, the way the game starts is you're flying in a hot air balloon with a bus attached to it, and it's floating over this island, and you just jump out, and wherever you land, it's a battle royale, a fight to the finish. But so he's parachuting down with her dress flapping in the breeze, and he's like trying to move the camera so he can look up her dress.
Yeah, buddy.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Nothing. Yeah, really? Looks like you're trying to take a look at her pooty poo. And he just turns around and goes, yeah, so? You look at mom's pooty poo.
I'll tell you what, man. If you weren't a couple hundred miles away, I'd shake your hand.
I had to laugh. I told him, don't you ever say that again. But you're not wrong.
That boy, I'll tell you what, I'm submitting that right to Man Card Central, dude. That boy's getting his first stamp tomorrow. Like, that's good.
So, I mean, kids are kind of like parrots in a way. I mean,
in a hilarious way.
You can't take them in public because they'll embarrass you.
Not if you do it, and they all you got to do is just embrace it.
Well, I don't encourage people to have their kids swearing. I don't encourage that in the least. It's not cute. It's actually kind of sad when you think about it. But when it does happen, it can be funny in an instant.
Oh, yeah. Or like, when your kid's throwing a tantrum inside of a store. If your wife happens to be there with you and your kid starts throwing a tantrum, throw one right along with them.
I don't want to look at pants.
No, I'm telling you what. Nothing gets a kid to stop quicker. It worked for me. My kids would start acting like little turds inside of stores and stuff like that, and I just start throwing a tantrum.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've legit had this is way back in the day. I was working for a company where we would, it was a loss prevention company. Let's just leave it at that. But when we left, one of the things we did was we installed security guards. So they'd sit there and just stand there in a uniform and try to look, as least funny as possible. So we were training a new sets of security guards to work in a grocery store. And there was a kid that came in there and literally is on the ground screaming, kicking, hitting the ground, picking up bags of large candy because it was near Halloween and winging them across the store into the produce section. And we're like, ma'am, control your child. And she is yelling at us, don't tell me how to raise my children. I'm like, bitch, get the fuck out. What?
Yeah.
I want to talk to your manager. My manager isn't here. I don't work here, lady. And I didn't, technically.
Well, I mean, sometimes people just need to be told. And you know what? You weren't telling her how to raise her kid anyhow. Telling your kid to shut up and just get them the hell out of here when they're acting like a fool in public ain't telling you how to raise your kid.
You know what?
Just telling you to be. Yeah, you don't need to. We're just telling you not to be a shitbag at the moment. Like, get out of here.
It's funny because I've taught classes on how to de-escalate situations, and there was an individual you and I both worked with. We worked for the Department of Corrections. That I used this guy as an example in my class, and I've told him about it, and he's laughed. But so the way prisons work, typically you have one centralized location. We called it control, where people will operate all the doors and all the communication equipment. And it's, prisoners are nowhere near that section. It's usually, in the bowels of the building so that even in a riot, no one can get to it. Well, I was working control one time and I had a coworker with me and we get a phone call and it's a very irate woman. I want to speak to a lieutenant. Okay, ma'am. Well, there's a couple of tenants on. If you can tell me what this is about, I can direct you to the proper person. Your officer down here in this work release building just told me to go to hell, and she cussed me out and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, well, let me find you a shift commander right away. Please hold. Put her on hold, looked at my partner. Who the fuck is in work release? And they gave me 4 names. The woman explicitly told me it was a male officer. There were 3 females and 1 male there. That 1 male officer, I'm going to use his first name only. His name was Tim. And if you were watching the video version of our podcast, you are seeing Buck smile right now because he knows who Tim is. Tim is a wet blanket. Tim is the nicest guy you've ever meet. He has never raised his voice to anybody. In one extreme situation where he caught somebody doing something extremely bad against him, he didn't even raise his voice or get mad. He is the most calm, level-headed person you've ever met in your life. Tell me that is not an accurate description of Tim.
If anything, I would say you're still understating. Tim is just the nicest guy on earth.
Tim, I don't know why he became a corrections officer, but he was a elementary school teacher. And he still substituted, actually, when he was working. And, just an exceedingly nice guy. He was still there when we left, and I was shocked because I didn't think somebody that nice would live in that world that long. And I said, really? I go, this woman's full of shit. So I picked the phone back up. I said,
oh, yeah.
And I said, ma'am, so you're saying the male officer down there told you, to go to hell and you're a bitch and everything like that? Yes, he did. I go, well, you are a bitch. Go fuck yourself. And hung up. I immediately called the shift commander and said, hey, you might get another phone call, and this is why. And he says, who the hell's down there? And I said, Tim. And it just went silent. He was like, yeah, just send her to me if she calls back. She didn't, because I called her on her bullshit. And I've determined, and this is what the subsequent, the moral of the story is, which I would tell people in class is, as long as you are known as being the nice, easygoing, quiet guy, and you have a level head about yourself, and you're not known to swear a lot, and you're not known to be an asshole, every once in a while, you can look somebody dead in the eye and tell them to go fuck themselves. And it's okay, because no one will ever believe them.
Nope. Never, ever.
And I still use that story to this day when I'm teaching that de-escalation class, just because. And I ran into Tim one day, and I told him about it, and he was actually with a rookie officer at the time. And the rookie officer looked at him, did you actually tell her that? And he's like, no. I go, but he could have. That's the best part.
That is the best part. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he don't exist.
Indeed. But I think unless Buck's got an air story, do you, Buck? No,
I can't think of anything now.
Okay, well, that's going to be it for this week of the Social Liability Podcast. You can check us out each and every week, at least for the past 18 weeks, on most podcasting platforms, whether it be Anchor, Spotify, Overcast. I got the hiccups. Breaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Radio Public, and even on YouTube. And if you have any ideas or articles you run along that we think might be funny, go ahead and send them along to socialliability@icloud.com. And the only thing we ask that you pay for this podcast, since it costs you absolutely nothing, Buck.
Pay attention.
Yay!
Just pay attention.
Pay attention.
Just pay us attention.
Really, that's all we ask. I mean, if you share this with one person, and they share it with one person, and they share it with one person, we are going to have a massive podcast in no time. And we are actually seeing some exponential growth right now, Buck, and I'm quite happy to see it. But we could always do better.
Correct. I think we can do better, and it all starts. Only you can make this podcast great, man. Just one.
Just you. That being said, also make sure you check out our YouTube channel. If you just search for the Mount Moon Crew you'll find us, and we're going to be doing some Let's Plays on there. I think we're going to shoot an Among Us Let's Play. If anybody's played that, it's an extremely fun game, and no, they're not sponsoring us. We just want to play it. That being said, folks, this has been the Social Liability Podcast. I'm Raz. This is Buck. Have yourselves a delightful week.